Hi, good afternoon. Today I want to talk to you all about something that's very important to me and dear to my heart, and that's mental health. My last video told you about mentioned my brother who died. He passed away when I was 19. Well, my brother was exactly 3 years older than me. My brother committed suicide. He killed himself, a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. People always ask, why did your brother kill himself? What was he going through? Was he on drugs? I don't know. This is my opinion of how everything was going on. I always looked up to my brother. I thought, my brother was the best brother in the world. It's because of him that I am kind of like I am today, because when it's excuse me, when it's two children in a house and you're being raised by your grandparents, you seem to kind of stick together because you feel like your grandparents don't know what's going on. So my brother kind of like helped raise me in a way, tried to keep me out of trouble, do what's right, and don't do anything wrong. And I was a kid, so. But anyway, one day, I had to go to school, and I was in college, and I had to go to school that morning. And for some reason, I just couldn't get to school for anything. And I went to see my grandmother's house. My grandmother and my mother lived like right across from each other, so I had left my mom's house to go to my grandmother's house to see my brother before I went to school. And I couldn't get to school for anything. I had an English class that morning. And so I was talking to my brother and everything, and I remember he was in the kitchen washing dishes, and I said, well, I'll see you this afternoon when I get home. He never said anything. So I went to school. I really wasn't comfortable the whole day. I don't know why. So when I returned home from school, I went to my mom's house. And in order to get to my mom's house, I passed my grandma's house. And my brother's car was there, but all the doors were closed. So I said, he must be, taking a nap or something. So I went to my mom's house and got undressed, unpacked my books and everything. So we would always go to my great-grandmother's house and check the mail, because our mail would go to her house. So about 4:30, we would always leave. So when 4:30 came that afternoon, I walked over to my grandmother's house, and I knocked on the door, and no one answered. And I know my brother's car was there, but no one answered. So I had a key to my grandma's house. So I opened the door, and when I opened the door, it's just like I don't know. I can't even explain it. It's just like, whew, something happened. And I saw, as you walk into her house, there's the living room, and back then they had these floor model televisions. And on top of the television was some papers. And so as I got closer, I saw there was a Bible. The Bible was turned to the 23rd Psalm. My grandmother would always tell us, anytime you're in trouble, she said, just read that 23rd Psalm. Hold on. Kind of like looked over the letters. There was a letter to me, a letter to my cousin. I think there was a letter to my grandparents. I can't really remember. But there were a few letters on top of the television. So I'm like, So after I kind of read one or two lines, the impression I got was my brother had gone on a trip. He had left the car and gone on a trip. So I said, okay. So I went to the back of the house where the bedrooms were, and I kept calling my brother's name. His name was Vincent. I kept calling his name, and okay. As I passed, his bedroom was the first bedroom on the left going down the hallway. As I passed his room, I saw his legs, and I called his name. He didn't answer. Went in a little closer to his room, and I saw him lying on the floor. And there was a gun. And I touched him. He didn't move. So I was crying. And I left the house to go to my great aunt's house. She lived up the road, which was my grandmother's sister. I told her, I said, Vincent's dead. She said, no, you're mistaken. He's not dead. I said, yeah, he's dead. So, she got in the car with me, and we went back to my grandmother's house. And we went in, and she went in the back, his bedroom, and he was dead. And also at that time, my cousin was home for the military, and he came to the house, and he came back and he said, yeah, he's dead. And he got a sheet and he put over him. So my grandmother gets off at 4:30. She may get off a little late. So I told my auntie, I said, I need to call my grandmother, which I called her mom. I said, I need to call my mom and let her know. I said, I'm just going to tell her to come straight home. So I called her job. She was still there. I said, Mom, you got to come straight home. She said, what's wrong? I said, just come straight home. And I called my grandfather. He was at work. I said, Pop, I need you to come home. He said, what's wrong? I said, Pop, just come home. Of course, we called, we didn't have 911, so we called the sheriff's department. They came out. It was a long day that day. Anyway, a lot of people had heard about it. It's a small town. People had heard. So, my grandmother, which I call Mom, she got home from work first. And she didn't take it well at all. My grandfather came home. He didn't take it well. It was so intense and emotional. There were a yard full of people at my house by the time my mom got home, because she would get off late, like 5:30 sometimes, close to 6 o'clock. She got home late, and when she drove up, she saw all those cars. Like my cousins were there and stuff, and she got home and she said, "What's wrong?" And I told her, I said, "Hey, Vince's dead." And she said, "No, what happened?" It was just a crazy day that day. So, family and friends standing out in the yard, waiting for the police and the detectives to say, get some word from them. They, of course, they went in, they took pictures. The letters that he left, they took those for evidence. So, we called the funeral home, and the funeral home came out. They were, family. Well, we knew them. We've known the people who own the funeral home for like years. So they came out and to get the body. And it was just so unreal. It was so unreal. It's my brother. I just saw him that morning. I had just seen him that morning in the kitchen washing the dishes. And now he was gone. So he passed away on a Wednesday. And we went to bury him. as soon as possible. So we had his funeral on that Saturday. Now I know my brother was like a jokester, so I said, this is just a joke. I'm gonna wake up and this is all gonna be over. So as times went on, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, no Vincent. So I think when it really hit me that he wasn't coming back was Saturday, the day of the funeral. Oh my God, that was like the worst day of my life. I can remember every step just like it was yesterday. I think, well, I know that's something I will never forget for as long as I live. My only brother I found dead in my grandparents' house. It was the worst thing I've had to go through in my life. But anyway, it was a rather large funeral. Classmates. He graduated in 1980. So I graduated in 1983. So he graduated in 1980. And it was a big funeral. It was a sad funeral, but it's one thing that the Reverend said at the church. He said my brother he had a weak soul. And I never really, a weak soul. So I'm like, now that, I'm older and I go back to that. And my brother was, because he's weak. But when I say weak, I think strong. My brother was strong, but weak mentally. He didn't have any mental issues. He didn't do drugs that I know of. He was a ladies' man. I mean, my brother was very handsome, and I'll get a picture and show you all later. My brother was very handsome. He was very attractive. Women loved my brother. But I guess if you aren't happy inside, it doesn't matter how attractive you are or what you have, because this is the way I saw it. I saw my brother as having everything. My grandparents bought him a car. He lived in the house. He didn't have to pay any bills, because my grandmother's like, I want you to get yourself together. Whatever money you get, put it toward what you want to do for yourself. So living with my grandparents, they didn't want us to pay anything. You didn't have to pay any bills. Just work, take care of yourself. When you get yourself together, you can leave. I mean, those were the best grandparents in the world. So I saw him as being very, very blessed. He didn't have to do anything but go to work and take care of himself. He didn't have any children. He had a girlfriend, but you see, when one of those things, when I see you, when I see you, So as time went on, it's just crazy that I think back sometimes like, why did he do that? I don't know why he did it. No one knows why he did what he did. It was really never talked about in the house. My grandmother didn't want to, it was off subject. My grandfather will mention his name every once in a while, but my grandmother didn't mention his name. Very seldom she would mention his name. And my grandmother didn't cry at the funeral. She cried the day that it happened, and she didn't cry at the funeral. She held it in. And my grandfather cried. The funeral it made everything real. And my grandfather kind of had a bad heart, so I remember that day they had to kind of pause stuff for him to take a nitroglycerin tablet under his tongue. It was a trying day for my grandparents, because my grandparents raised us like their kids. To them, we weren't grandkids, we were their kids. Because just like I said, I call my grandmother Mom, I call my granddaddy Pop. Sometimes I call him Pop, sometimes I call him Granddaddy. It depends. I guess he used to say, it depends on what you want. When you want something, it's Pop. When anything else, is Granddaddy. Okay. But it took a while, and everyone always asks, did he have mental issues? I don't think he had mental issues. My brother was very smart. He was a very smart person. He was a very well-liked individual. He could do anything. He was one of those people that you say was a jack of all trades. He could, some of my cousins, they thought he was going to be a preacher. They thought he was going to be a chef. Some said he would be a lawyer. He had all of this talent. And nothing never became of it. He could draw. He could Oh man, cooking around the holidays, my grandmother said, write out what you want to cook. You know, they planned, he'd write all of his ingredients and my grandmother would go get it. And then he would cook the Thanksgiving meal, he would cook the Christmas meal. Excuse me. He shared a birth month with my grandmother. His birthday was September 24th, her birthday was September 23rd, so they would have their little dinner together. And you know, it's one of those things. And today, I miss my brother. I miss him a lot. I think about him a lot. The day that this happened, I will never forget it as long as I live. I can tell you step by step from what happened to the moment I got home to the moment of the funeral. I can tell you step by step. Step by step. And when I said mental health, you never know what a person is going through. I thought my brother was the happiest person in the world. He was living with my grandparents. He had his own room. He had freedom to do anything he wanted to do. If he wanted money, he's working. But if he wanted money, my grandfather would give it to him. My grandmother would give it to him. So he had no worries. So I thought he was living a good life. Little did I know. He was hurting inside because something provoked him to take his life. Something provoked him to take his life. And that's something we'll never know. He passed away in 1994, and here it is 2023, and I still wonder, why did he kill himself? And it's something I will never know. I will never know. But he was a good guy. You know, he never did anything to anyone. To me, he was too soft-spoken because he would let people say stuff, and I'm like, oh, nah, you don't talk to my brother like that. And I was the younger one, but he was just a good guy. He had a very big heart. And every day I miss him. I got mad with him. Then I still love him. I got mad because he left me by myself. I'm like, why did you leave me by myself? But God knows best. I grew up in I guess you would say, I was raised up in a church. I don't have to walk around quoting the Bible to know what's right and what's wrong. I was raised up in a church. My grandmother was the mother of the church. My grandfather was I guess you call it the head deacon of the church. And we were always in church. So I know God is good. He makes no mistakes. Whatever transpired that day between my brother and God is between my brother and God. It's something I will never know. People always say, well, you kill yourself, you go to hell. It's in the Bible. Who knows what happens when you die? Who knows what transpired that day between my brother and God? I don't know. No one knows but my brother and God, and my brother can't tell me. So you never know. So his death really took, that's like I said, we lived in a small town. His death really kind of took like the black families by off, because it's like, wow, because the reason I say it like that is because where I come from, I'm from the country. It's a small town, and you never heard of a black person taking their life before. I had never heard of a black person taking their life before. A Caucasian person that I knew, I had a lot of Caucasian friends. I knew a couple of them that family members took their life, but I had never known anyone black or of color to take their life. One of my best friends in school, his mother took her life, and it was like, so it was new to me. Everything was new because here I am, 18 years old, and now I have to deal with trying to come to some sense of what's going on. And not only that, I had to make sure that my grandparents were okay, because my grandfather had a weak heart. And let me tell you something, that took a toll on my family. It took a toll. My mom, my grandmother, my grandfather, we all went through something. And when my brother died, my grandmother was never the same. My grandfather was never the same. I was never the same. My mom was never the same. It's just, it just takes a toll on you because you have so many questions but no answers. Until this day, like I said, it's 2023. My brother died in 1994. And I still don't know what possessed him to take his life. I don't know. And I'll never know. But this, I believe in my heart. I believe with all my heart that whatever transpired that day was between him and God. And God knows best. God does not make mistakes. We all know how we got here, but we do not know how we're going to leave. We don't. The next second is not promised to us. That's why I say mental health is important. Please take care of your mental. Reach out to someone. If you're going through something, reach out to someone. You want to talk with someone who has experience in dealing with the situation. You don't want to just go to anybody and you tell them something, they have your business all over the world. You don't want that. You want someone you can trust. I go through stuff every day. But God be my God. I talk to him. I don't have a best friend that I'm going to call up and tell them every day. Because every day I'm going through something. I talk to God. I pray. People say, I pray in the morning, I pray in the afternoon, I pray all through the day. Because in this world we live, the world we live in is beautiful. It's the people. Some people don't have a heart and they do mistreat people and they do all kind of things. And people say, well, this world is crooked. It's not the world, it's the people in the world. But I thank you all for listening. But just like I said, if you know someone who's suffering from mental illness or someone who needs to talk to someone, be that person. Try to help them. If you can't help them, see if you can find someone who can help them. Because I miss my brother. I miss him. It's been years and I still miss my brother. It's just like it. This whole thing happened yesterday. I know step by step of everything that transpired that day. And he was my heart. I mean, he was my everything. You know, he was it. But just like I said, always remember, there's no problem that God can't solve. To me, what I've learned is suicide is a permanent, how do I want to say this? Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Whatever you're going through, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. It doesn't seem like it. Sometimes it doesn't seem, oh man, this is it. Nah. You have to pray and believe and stay focused. Nothing is worth your life. Nothing is worth taking your life for. And I wish my brother could have understood that. I wish I would have been old enough to pick up on certain things that were going on. But even now that I think back, I still don't know anything that was going on. Nothing that was out of the unusual around the house. Everything was still the same. But I pray his soul is at rest. And I know God makes no mistakes. And that's all I have. I know he makes no mistakes. So with that being said, thank you for listening to me. And that's something I really don't talk about, but it's been on my mind, so I put it out there. But anyway, thank you for listening to me. Don't forget to hit the comment, share, like, and let me know what you think. And just like I said before, if you need to talk, find someone you can talk to and feel freely speaking with about whatever's going on in your life. Because there's no problem that God can't solve. It may seem useless. You want to give up? Don't give up. That's the old devil talking to you. Do not give up. Keep fighting a good fight. Because in the end, you're going to win. You will prevail. And so many times, I just wish my brother could have hung on a little longer for whatever was going on in his life. I wish he could have really hung on a little longer and got the help that he needed, whatever help it could have been. Because I don't know, whatever help it could have been, I wish he had gotten the help that he needed. But once again, hit the subscribe button, like, share, and let me know what you think. Have a good day.